and welcome to today's very special Halloween version of Kendo Rant. We'll get right into the questions, but just before we do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you do enjoy these videos, if it brings you any value whatsoever, then you need to be shopping at kendostar.com because that's what pays for it to happen, and there's nowhere else that's any good to shop compared to Kendostar. Come on, get to kendostar.com. Right, let's get right into these questions. First one, I have a question about the problem I've been calling the duality of Keiko. I started Kendo in my late teens. I couldn't really practice between 2012 and 2017 because of life in general. I rejoined, I became very active, quickly passing my shodan. I'm focusing now on tournaments, which is what my question relates to. My club emphasizes very clean, proper Kendo, like you might see during an exam. I really appreciate this. However, whilst at tournaments, I'm having difficulty with opponents who are constantly evasive, blocking a lot, or doing other sort of weird things that aren't super clean. I realise technically correct Kendo is correct Kendo, but nonetheless, these players can get the drop on me quickly, and I don't know what the best counter to that sort of style is. Okay, so... Right. I hear this quite a lot. I personally don't really think there is such a thing as a duality of Keiko or Kendo. I believe that correct Kendo is the strongest Kendo. I think that the best players in the world all have really beautiful Kendo that's very correct. And that's why they always sort of seem to sail through their promotional exams as well. Now, if you're struggling with, the first thing actually, before I go into that, I don't want you to go away and go like, right, I need to develop a Shiai Kendo and I need to develop a correct Kendo, because those two things aren't exclusive to each other. They're the same, right? Your Keiko, your Shiai, your gradings, you should be doing the same Kendo in all three of those. It's just you do it with different intentions and different strategy, if that makes sense. All right. It's not just it's not like, oh, in Shiai I just break all the rules or something like that. That isn't how it works. And you won't become strong competitor if you do that. All right. So first off, I'd say that probably one of the reasons that you're finding it difficult to hit players like that is because you probably don't have a broad enough repertoire of techniques in your arsenal. In that I mean, you don't know enough waza. And I don't mean sort of on a basic level like kote men do, yeah, or men kaishi do, or something like that. I mean about how you set up those waza, how you achieve those waza, how do you open up an opportunity on somebody that's blocking like this or ducking this way. Go and watch the video that I did on how to beat a blocker first off. I definitely think that will help. And secondly, I think you also need to think about how you're creating your opportunities. That means you have to develop your semi, the pressure that you're putting on your opponent or the effect that you're having on your opponent. What I find that a lot of people that struggle with this sort of problem have is that they're doing Kendo in their Shiai and they're making just the attacks they want to make without any real regard for what's going on with their opponent. So as opposed to trying to create a good opportunity for men or kote or do, they are deciding by themselves, oh, I want to hit men, step in, hit men, and the person blocks. Yeah. So... because a proper opportunity hasn't been created. What I think you'd be better off doing is maybe you could try to use your semi, try to get them to maybe break so that they want to attack you. And then you can use Debana waza, Kaishi waza, Oji waza, those sort of things, because they can't block whilst they're attacking you, yeah? That's definitely something that I think is very useful. So go and watch the videos I did as well about Debana waza and Oji waza, because I talk about that, and the video I did about semi, because they talk about those sort of situations too, all right? Because that's correct Kendo. If you do those things in a grading exam, I did them in my last grading exam and I was successful, right? So I believe that it's the same. Like I say, just the strategy is a little bit different, okay? In a grading exam, you're not trying to achieve victory necessarily, not in the same way as you are in a Shiai anyway. It's a different kind of victory you're trying to achieve, right? So it's just a difference of strategy rather than the actual Kendo itself, if that makes sense. Next one, how do you clean the scar of a shinai? Some of mine have become slippery because the sweat and the grip isn't comfortable. Unfortunately, I don't really know of a way you can clean the scar of the shinai. Most people just replace it if it gets that bad. But Yeah, I don't really know of a way to clean it, I'm afraid. If anyone knows of one, then leave it in the comments down below. But yeah, sorry about that. Next one, why is Shiai decided based on 2 or 3 points when a single ippon is technically a decisive blow? I'm sure there must be some history behind that. Right, I'm not a Kendo historian, all right, so I'm not going to really be able to take this from a historical point of view. However, of course, in the past, when sword fights happened, it was generally decided with a single strike, and that's what's simulated with the concept of ippon shobu in a way. Now, most tournaments are run by the sanbon shobu method, which is the best of 3 points. That isn't a decisive rule across the board, though. There are plenty of tournaments out there that are ippon shobu, that are just one strike and you win. But for the most part, to keep it competitive, to keep it enjoyable, and to make sure you're not just winning because you're lucky, I think that sanbon shobu is generally more popular. I think most people prefer to compete over sanbon shobu rather than ippon shobu, and I think that's the reason, to be honest, that that sanbon shobu is more popular than ippon shobu. Next one, for grading Keiko, is there any impact on how you're judged if your opponent is doing Nito? How is the grading criteria adapted for people grading with Nito? So, if somebody's doing Nito, I'd say that the first thing is, if you're against the person doing Nito, it depends on what level you're grading for, right? If you're grading for like 6th dan or something, or 7th dan or something, I expect that you're not, it shouldn't be taken into account for the person not doing Nito at all. I don't sit on those grading panels, but if it was me, if somebody was grading for 4th dan, for example, I would expect that person to be able to do the same as generally they would against somebody doing Chudan. They'd still have to show the same level of Kendo. Now, if it was somebody doing Ikkyu or something, and it might be the first time they've ever done grading with Kendo with somebody who does Nito, then of course I would probably take that into account as well. So I think it'd be a bit unfair to expect them right off the bat at the very beginning stages of their Kendo to be able to adapt that quite quickly. But luckily, that's why you have 2 chances of Keiko in most situations. So I'd probably pay more attention, especially to their second Keiko, to check if they were ready to go through the level of Ikkyu or not. But I wouldn't like mark it against them because they're against Nito. But of course, it depends on the level of the grading. It depends on how I would look at how that person was dealing with their opponent who was doing Nito. That makes sense. In terms of grading criteria adapted for people grading in Nito, no, they're not adapted at all. So if you're grading at lower levels at Nito, you still have to represent the basics. You have to show that you can make attacks with Kentai no Ichi, that you can do the basic movements properly, you can wear your equipment properly, you can do the correct reigi, reiho, that sort of thing, and that you can do the basics of Kendo, even though you're doing it with 2 swords instead of 1. And then in more advanced levels, then you have to show that you are able to apply seme and have some in sort of understanding of taking the initiative, taking the sen. Okay, that doesn't change whether it's Chudan, Nito, Jodan, or whatever. Okay, right, next one. Can you comment on the various tenouchi motions? Some people argue for a twist of the hands, while others a squeeze of the fingers. Some argue for placing the shinai in the pit of the left hand and holding half the pinky on the tsukagashira, or some argue for a more katana grip with the heel of the palm on top of the tsuka. Okay, so there are lots, like anything with Kendo, there's lots of different ideas about some of the really tiny details, like exactly how you should hold the shinai. I believe for the most part, the idea, let me grab a shinai. Oh, I'm back. Okay, so for the most part, I think the idea of twisting this way as you do tenouchi, I think that's outdated, and I don't think that most. I actually never heard that in Japan. I never heard any whilst I lived in Japan. I never heard any sensei say that that's how you should do it. I don't think that's an effective way to do it either. This way, but I think that encourages incorrect tenouchi. For me, I'm more of the school of thought, and pretty much all the senseis I've ever met have said about squeezing this way. like that, rather than twisting this way. I don't think that's correct at all. So if you want my advice, I wouldn't do it that way. About where you hold the shinai, yeah, I mean, I think the best place to hold it is like this. Though some people tend to hold it a little, some people might hold it this way as well. It's not a huge, massive difference, all right? But you can't hold it like that, all right? Can't hold it like that, and you can't hold it like that, okay? If you're somewhere in between, I think you'll figure it out along the way. Next one. Is it possible to train in 2 different dojos? Are there ethical considerations involved? Thank you. Yes, so it is possible to train in different dojos for the most part. But however, in terms of your ethical considerations, I think what you mean there is like the kind of manners and stuff. Look, you'll have a main dojo, I assume, where you started Kendo or where you mainly practice, right? Before you just go and practice at other dojos, the best thing to do is talk to your teacher there. Just say, oh, look, I've heard this practice at another dojo on a different day, and it's convenient for me to go there. Do you mind if I go and practice there as well? And just so it's all up front and on the table, it doesn't look like you're doing it behind anyone's back, all right? And then when you go to the other place, make sure that you contact them before you show up. Tell them that you're a member of the other dojo and you're looking for extra training in addition to what you're already doing. And I'm sure they'll be more than accepting. Next one. At what point does Keiko... at what point during Keiko does seme stop being seme and start being waiting on your opponent? When I watch High Level Sensei, the seme seems to be them pressuring each other to get the other one to react first, which is, I thought, showing control over your opponent. I've gotten a lot of different answers on this. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this question. So it's never waiting. Waiting is always wrong, all right? You never wait, okay? If you wait, you'll be too slow. When they try to hit you, you won't be in time to do your kaishu waza or your devano waza. You'll be too slow if you wait. There's never a time that waiting is okay. All right. Now, when you watch a very high level sensei, it looks like they aren't doing that much, but there's actually quite a lot going on here whilst they're like this, like this. You know, even though they might not even be stepping in that much, both of them are having a kind of battle of wills, if you want. And what's really important is they are generally masters of a concept called tame. Now, if you've been doing Kendo for quite a while, you might have heard of the term tame. It's a little bit over mystified in the Kendo world, with people thinking it means building up like this massive aura or something. It doesn't. It means tame literally means to have the preparedness in your left leg and your left hand, really, well, in your kamae, to strike at any moment. Okay, so it means that all your power's built up and you're ready to go. You're ready to pull the trigger. All right, that's what having tame is. All right, it's not like some kind of like whoa like this and you start glowing and stuff. It's nothing like that. It's just having a position in your kamae where you're applying pressure, applying seme, but also at any moment you can make a strike. Okay, so you've got power in your left leg. You've got your left leg locked in, ready to go. Your left hand's ready to go, and you like I say, you're ready to pull that trigger at any moment. And what you have is, when you get two senseis that are very experienced and they've got this sort of deadlock going on here, it's a bit like an old Wild West film where they're both stood there, they're about to have a shoot off, or whatever you call it, and and they're sort of there hovering over the guns, you know what I mean? Who's going to move first? But they're ready to draw at any second. That's your tame there, that readiness, yeah, and that looking each other in the eyes, that who's going to go first, come on, let's do this. That's that semi-eye that's going on there. There's never a point where one of them's like, right, when this guy moves, I'm going to hit him. It's never going to work like that. Yeah, it's a lot like, I think in the Wild West Showdown, you know, if you're like, right, as soon as he moves, I'm going to shoot him, you're going to get shot. And I think it's exactly the same sort of thing. Right, next one. A comment, please, to all those aspiring to become or have recently qualified as Kendo instructors. Okay, yeah, no problem. Right, a very inspirational sensei for me said to me, and he was on my last grading panel. He came over from Japan. He's a sensei of many great senseis. I wouldn't say he's my sensei at all because I've only met him a handful of times, but I did speak to him before my grading. And because I was taking a grading for 6th Dan, which obviously is a kind of a high level grade in Europe, so I would be considered a teacher. One of the things he said was that the teacher is the needle and the student is the thread. So I think what that means is that if the needle goes in the wrong direction, the thread follows it, right? So you have to make sure as a teacher that you are leading by example. You are able to provide not just a good example, but an explanation. You must be well sort of versed on what it is that you're teaching about. I think you have to be able to provide answers. You need to be able to research, constantly trying to find out the best way to be conveying the message and making sure that it's always in the right direction. And certainly up to my point now, like I say, I just got 6th Dan a year ago, and up to my point, it's about not making up my own stuff. Yeah. Maybe when I'm 8th Dan and I've got the Hanshi or something, maybe I can think about being a little bit more individual, but I don't make up my own stuff. None of the stuff that I teach anybody is stuff that I just thought of by myself. It's stuff I've researched, stuff that other senseis have told me, and kind of repetitions of following the way. Yeah, I'm a bit of a purist in that respect, but I think that the All Japan Kendo Federation's idea of Kendo is the way that we're supposed to do Kendo, and I try to stick to that as closely as I possibly can, and I think that's for the best. Next one. Can you comment on doing Kiai? Where should it come from in the body? How long should it be and how loud? I was very fortunate to go to my first Taikai at the weekend. Even though I was only watching, I had a fantastic time, but I didn't notice the difference between those just making a sound and those that were really committed to what they were doing. I'm sure you've probably talked about this before. I really love the show and thank you in advance. No, thank you very much. Okay, so the shouting, the kakegoe or Kiai, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't just come from your voice, yeah, like this, yeah. It comes from inside your body, like from your diaphragm. I think, I don't know, I'm not a biologist or anything like that, or a doctor or something, but like it's not just like from your throat. You do that, you get a sore throat, and it won't have very much impact on your opponent, and it won't help to build up your own spirit either. It has to be real. You have to care about it, yeah. It's not just like, yeah, like this, you know what I mean? You have to, yeah, your heart's in it, yeah. This is real. I'm here now. Let's do this. Yeah, it has to communicate all that. It all has to be in there, and I think that has to come up from deep inside you. You know what I mean? So yeah, from people say from your abdomen and from your diaphragm and stuff like that. That's probably right. Like I say, I don't do all that sort of technical stuff that much. Just for me, it's definitely not from just my voice. Yeah, like this. Yeah, it's coming from in here. You know, it takes practice though. All right, so don't expect to do it like that. Yeah, it'll take you some time, but yeah, don't worry about it too much. I'm sure you'll get there. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all next time, and a very happy Halloween. Hoo-ha!